Namaste, it's me Prem Pun, and today I would like to share my some of the experiences on translation. Since I'm paused on this course, um, before starting this course, so I have very light understanding about translation studies, and I thought that translation is very easy task, and I I thought translation very literally, and it's a literal translation means word to word translation, and that's why I think it's very easy job. But I think that we need to have lots of vocabularies for that translation. But when I went through two workshops on this course, translation studies, and the first one is Ek Sundar Vishya Prati by Lakshmi Prasad Devkota, and the second one is Chhapa Mariyoti Diary by Tara Rai. I found that translation is quite tough job because it is not only the literal translation means word to word translation. So I found that there are lots of factors that cultural translation and some of the different fields, jargons, typical jargons, and sometimes we cannot find out that equivalent words. So translation is quite tough job. So I found that. Mm, so so I have that a little bit broader concept about that translation is not only the word to word translation, and it's equally related with the that cultural translation as well. Then when I when we started that our course translation studies, and I found that the German translator that Frederick Schleiermacher's ideas or the concept of that hermeneutic circle quite influential and equally applicable, and that the, the concept, either the translator leaves the author in peace as much as possible and moves the reader towards him. That means translator does not change the writer's ideas for the sake of the readers, or he leaves the reader in peace as much as possible and moves the author towards him. Means the translator changes the writer's ideas for the sake of the readers. So this Schleiermacher's ideas is quite applicable. I found that this idea is quite applicable in the field of translation. Then similarly, the I'm influenced by the theoretical insight or the concept of that Benetti's concept of uh, foreignizing the text and domesticating the text. These two concepts are also equally important in the field of translation, which means that foreignizing the text means alienating method, uh, similar to alienating method, and domesticating the text means naturalizing method. So these two concept of Benetti's concept, they are quite applicable and most essential method that a translator must follow. This I found that these to translators concept very influential for me. And while doing the assignment task of these translation studies, I learned lots of ideas and knowledges about the translation studies, and I really find that what the real translation is, how it exactly is, because I feel lots of difficulties, and sometimes I feel joys. So, and I gain lots of knowledges, vocabularies of different languages as well. So it's interesting, and in my learning, that in first assignment first, and that hard we did that hard bazaar by Dr. Keshav Mansaki. um, there I failed lots of difficulties to find out that equivalent words of typical Nepali words, or some slang Nepali words to translate in English. In that case, sometimes that cultural context also very was important, and then I found that word to word translation and cultural translation, both of them go parallelly or simultaneously. I found that. Then then at the same time that foreignizing the text and domesticating the text, this concept also, these two concept also, concept or method also go simultaneously, or parallelly, that I learned, or that I found in my that assignment first. Then in assignment second, what we did is that legal translation, and legal translation is quite tough. I found that it's quite tough for me, because so we need to find out that legal jargons there, and which is very tough. So for that, how to find out that legal equivalent words, it's quite challenging. Then in that sense, in that case, we that in assignment 3 we did that short economic text, and there also we have we need that certain or proper that economic jargons to translate. Then in mostly that word to word translation, I mean literal translation, is mm, very near, very useful. At the same time, sometimes we have to go through that the cultural translation as well, and so cultural nonsense values, they are also equally related and equally reflected in different text that we translate. Then uh, what I learned from our these three assignment is that a translator must follow the word-to-word translation and cultural translation simultaneously. Then, as I had already said, that domesticating the text and foreignizing the text, both also go side by side at the same time. Then uh, what I feel while doing translation is that uh, I have some excitement, some joys also, because we can learn lots of different vocabularies of different languages, and we can find some cultural codes and so many things. That's quite interesting. And we can get lots of opportunities to be familiar with the words and cultures of different languages. That's one part. And at the same time, we have some challenges as well. Being a translator, we must go through the different challenges. And basically, while translating that legal documents, it's quite tough. And poetry also, in poetry also, it's quite tough, because we couldn't find the exact intention or the meaning of the author. We may not find that. And sometimes that proverbs and quotations, they are also really challenging, because they are quite, they are rooted, or they are related with the cultural context and cultural translation. Then apart from this, that sometimes we can find some metaphoric expressions also in different text that we are translating. So that metaphoric expressions are really challenging to translate. So translation, there is that's why I think that there is no final translation at all, I think so. And while going through the different texts, translated texts, and I found that the same text might have the different portions of translation. Then sometimes a translator somehow might have misunderstanding in translation, due to that cultural context, or the nonsense value systems. So what I come to the conclusion is that no translation is final, an absolute translation. And translation differ from individual to individual. And the most important thing is that translator must not kill the aura of the original text or the original language while translating it in the target language. So what we need to consider is that two-way fidelity. The first one is not killing the aura of the text. While translating the text, we should not kill the aura, the originality of the author. Then second thing is that we have to make the readers clear or understand as it is, as far as possible. So that's two-way fidelity is most important in the field of translation. So I learned that. Then at the same time, what is important is that 3D means three dimensions are also equally important. Then while translating the different text, we need to consider that three dimensions. They are, first one is form, and the second one is function, and the third one is meaning. So these three dimensions are equally important for in the field of translation, and a translator must have the knowledge of these three dimensions: form, function, and meaning. So that's my experience and understanding related with the translation studies. Since I'm new and it's my first experience in translation studies, so still I'm very much interested to learn lots of things. So still I'm learning. That's my experience to share here. Thank you very much.